Imagine you are a Japanese soldier on a small island in the Pacific. Behind you, tunnels, bunkers, caves, machine guns, supplies, and officers telling you the beach must be held at all costs. In front of you, only ocean. Then one morning, the horizon changes. Ships appear. Not one, not 10. A whole wall of them. Battleships, destroyers, landing craft, aircraft overhead, stretching from one end of the sky to the other. And then someone says the word nobody wants to hear. Marines. That is when the battle starts to feel different. Because in the Pacific War, American Marines were not just another unit. They were the men sent into the worst places on Earth. Tiny islands, burning beaches, coral ridges, caves, and bunkers. Places where every rock could hide a machine gun and every hill could become a fortress. So why did Japan fear fighting American Marines? Not because Japanese soldiers were weak. Many of them were disciplined, well-trained, and prepared to fight to the last man. That is exactly what makes this story remarkable. The Japanese built defenses that were supposed to break an attacker completely, and the Marines kept coming anyway. Sector, a trap disguised as paradise. This was not a war fought across open fields like Europe. In the Pacific, the fight went island by island, and some of these islands were so small you could see the whole battlefield on a single map. Small did not mean easy. A small island could be turned into a giant trap. The Japanese dug bunkers from concrete, wood, sand, and coral. They hid guns inside caves and ran tunnels between gun positions, so a position knocked out could be reinforced from underground minutes later. They built crossfire lanes across every beach. From a ship offshore, some of these islands looked almost peaceful. Palm trees, sand, blue water. Underneath that calm surface was a system built to make every single step painful. And that was the job waiting for the Marines. The Navy could bombard an island for days. Carrier planes could drop bombs for weeks. But at some point, someone had to leave the landing craft, step into the water, cross open sand, and physically take the ground. That was the Marines' job. And the Japanese knew exactly what it meant when they saw the landing craft turn toward shore. The landing nobody could stop. A beach landing is one of the most dangerous things in war. The defenders already know where the beach is and have aimed their guns at it for months. The attackers come in slow, packed into open boats, with no way to fight back until the ramp drops. Take Tarawa, November 1943. The Japanese commander, Rear Admiral Keiji Shibasaki, was so confident in his defenses that he told his men 1,000,000 Americans couldn't take the island in 100 years. He had 4,500 men, nearly 500 pillboxes, and coastal guns aimed at the only beach the Marines could land on. The Marines landed anyway. The first wave took roughly 75% casualties before reaching dry sand. The fighting lasted just 76 hours. And in that time, more than 1,000 Marines were killed and over 2,000 wounded, one of the bloodiest 76-hour stretches in Marine Corps history. Shibasaki's prediction did not come true. Of his 4,500 defenders, only 17 were taken alive. That is the part Japanese commanders could never plan around. They could build the perfect kill zone and be exactly right about the cost. The Marines would still take the island. Tiber, they kept solving the problem. The Marines were not feared because they never suffered. They were feared because suffering did not automatically stop them. A unit could land on the wrong stretch of beach, lose half its officers, and lose its radios, and still find a way to push forward by nightfall. A machine gun nest would pin one squad down, and another squad would simply work around it from the flank. A bunker would survive the naval bombardment completely intact, and then engineers, tanks, or men with flamethrowers would be brought up to finish the job by hand. That is a different kind of fear than facing a strong enemy. It is the fear of facing an enemy that treats every setback as a problem to be solved, not a reason to stop. The machine behind the man. A Japanese defender on an island never just faced riflemen. He faced the United States Navy behind them. Naval guns, carrier aircraft, fresh ammunition, replacement tanks, and a country with the industrial capacity to keep sending more indefinitely. If a bunker held up the advance, the Marines called in naval gunfire. If a path was blocked, engineers blew it open. If men went down, corpsmen were already moving toward them. If one assault failed, another was organized within hours. To a defender, this could feel endless. You could survive the bombardment. You could survive the first wave. You could even stop it cold for a day. Then came the next wave. Japan often treated battle as a contest of will. Hold the line. Make the price unbearable. Force the enemy to quit. The Marines matched that will with something else. Logistics. Ammunition kept arriving. Fuel kept arriving. Doctors kept arriving. The machine behind the Marines simply did not run out. An enemy that learned island combat was brutally personal. One bunker, one cave, one ridge, one hidden gun that had to be found and silenced by hand. The Marines learned fast, and what they learned, they carried forward. After Tarawa's reef stranded landing craft offshore, leaving men waiting hundreds of yards under fire, they adopted tracked vehicles built to crawl straight over coral. After watching naval bombardment fail against deep bunkers, they paired tanks directly with infantry and called in heavier ship-to-shore fire. By Iwo Jima in February 1945, they faced a defense built to deny them everything that had worked before. The Japanese commander, Lieutenant General Tadamichi Kuribayashi, abandoned stopping Marines on the beach. He let them land, let the beach fill with men and equipment, then opened fire from a tunnel network he had spent 8 months building underground. It was the most carefully engineered defense the Marines had faced in the war. Nearly 7,000 Marines were killed and nearly 20,000 wounded across 36 days. The only Pacific battle where American casualties outnumbered Japanese ones, and the Marines still took the island. Admiral Chester Nimitz later said that among the men who fought there, uncommon valor was simply a common virtue. That should terrify a defender most. Not that the enemy is strong once, that it studies its own mistakes and comes back harder. A reputation that arrived before they did. By 1945, a Japanese soldier waiting in a bunker on some unnamed island was not just waiting for unknown troops, he was waiting for Marines. Men with a reputation built on Guadalcanal, Tarawa, Peleliu, and now Iwo Jima. Men who had been told the cost would be unbearable and had paid it anyway. That reputation became part of the battle before a single shot was fired. Why it mattered. The real reason Japan feared the Marines may be simpler than any tactic or weapon. The Marines represented commitment. When they landed, it meant America was not just bombing from a distance. It was coming ashore, taking the island, turning the ocean itself into a road toward Japan. The Pacific was supposed to be Japan's shield, vast enough and fortified enough to make every yard expensive. One by one, the Marines turned those fortresses into stepping stones. Every landing carried the same message. The distance was not enough. The bunkers were not enough. The beach was not enough. They were coming anyway. That is why a line of Marines waiting toward a Pacific beach became one of the most feared sights of the war. Behind that man stood the ships. Behind the ships stood the factories. Behind the factories stood a nation that had already decided how this would end. The Japanese built islands meant to be unbreakable traps. The Marines turned every one of those traps into a battle of endurance. And on beach after beach, they proved they could endure it. If you want more World War II stories explained in this simple cartoon style, subscribe to War Doodles. Because the next question is just as strange. Why were American factories more terrifying than some weapons?